Hi everybody, very welcome to Mentour and another video podcast. As always, I hope you're doing absolutely fantastic. Today on the video, guys, we're going to be talking about what keeps aircraft from flying into each other when they're up there in the sky, and what kind of procedures do we use in case we get a TCAS resolution advisory. Stay tuned.
Wind 31016, clear one right, clear one right.
Clear land 31 right. Delta 260. Yes, sir, dude.
This video is brought to you in cooperation with Brilliant.org, my long-term sponsor. If you want to fine-tune your mathematics skills and your physics skills, and you want to do so in a fun and interactive way, well, then you can join me and thousands of others in Brilliant. Okay, it's a fantastic community in there, and using this link here below, you'll get 20% off the annual fee of Brilliant, but it's completely free to check it out.
Traffic. Descend.
Right, so I'm guessing that most of you out there have been sitting at the window seat of an airliner. I'm guessing that most of you use the window seat and looking out, and you've seen other aircraft passing by seemingly very close. Now you probably would have wondered, why is it, how is it that we can be so sure that we're not crashing into any of those aircraft? Well, as it turns out, there is a good system in force in order to keep that from happening. And there's also a very good backup system called TCAS, which we'll be talking about towards the end. So, first of all, the way that the airspace is designed by making sure that opposite aircraft never fly at the same altitude. It's done so by making sure that people who are flying easterly, in an easterly direction, they are assigned flight levels which are uneven. So, for example, flight level 310, 330, 350, 370 and so on. Subsequently, aircraft flying on a westerly direction gets even numbers. Flights with 300, 320, 340, 360 and so on. Now this is in RVSM airspace. It's called RVSM, stands for Reduced Vertical Separation Minimum. So as you can see, if there's one aircraft flying easterly at flight level 350 and one flying westerly at flight level 360, there's only 1,000 feet of difference between them. In non-RVSM airspace, it's actually 2,000 feet in, okay? But we won't go into that too much. So that's one way of doing it. There are also different airways that have different assigned altitudes to them. And this is done so that an aircraft that's flying, let's say, a more or less north to southerly direction, the airways are turning constantly, but we don't change altitudes every time that we change between southeast to southwest. So some of these airways are going to have a specific, like even or uneven flight level assigned to them. Okay, so that's how it's designed. Now, air traffic control have full responsibility to make sure that we have vertical and horizontal separation from each other. And they do so by issuing clearances to us. They make sure that during the climb and descent, we're not intercepting each other's climb and descent path. And they're also making sure that we are not in anywhere close to anyone at the same altitude. But the problem is, of course, that this system is run by humans for humans, and humans make mistakes. Okay, sometimes air traffic control is making a mistake. Sometimes we might go out of radio range of air traffic control, or the pilots might read back the correct clearance and then do the wrong thing, or read back the wrong thing and air traffic control might not catch it. So these kind of mistakes, they happen rarely, very rarely, but they do happen. And in that case, there needs to be some kind of safeguard there to make sure that if two aircraft actually do accidentally end up on opposite direction, that they don't crash into each other. Now, that system, they started looking into building a system like that back in the 1950s. So there was a big mid-air collision over the Grand Canyon National Park in the United States back in 1956. And after that, all of the different involved aviation authorities started looking into different ways of solving that problem. And what they came up with is a system called TCAS. It stands for Traffic Collision and Avoidance System. The way it works is that each aircraft that is carrying more than 19 passengers or weighs more than 5,700 kilos are required to have a TCAS system installed. Every aircraft has a transponder, okay? And the transponders are basically radio boxes that transmit position and identification of the aircraft to air traffic control. But they also communicate with each other. So, for example, if I'm flying, my transponder is going to constantly send out questions to all of the aircraft around, saying, where are you? What are you doing? How high are you? So it's constantly, every second it's sending multiple of these questions. And the other aircraft are responding and vice versa. That way, the aircraft knows where all of the other proximate aircraft are. And it gives us a picture of that on our navigation display. So we will be able to see what's called other traffic. This is traffic that's in the general area, more than 1,000 feet away from us. It shows that up on our navigation display as an unfilled diamond. And it also gives us the information, as in -1 if it's 1,000 feet below, -2 if it's 2,000 feet below, and outside of that it doesn't show. Okay? Basically, this is traffic that the aircraft doesn't think is a threat. It just gives us for information. Might be good to know if we, for example, have a rapid depressurization and we have to execute an emergency descent. In that case, it's good to know if there's people below us, so we can choose to turn in a different direction to avoid them. But it doesn't do more than that. Now, when an aircraft starts to become a little bit closer, so within about 6 nautical miles and within 1,000 feet, then it will become proximate traffic. So that unfilled diamond will fill up and become a white diamond, still with the same kind of information. Still not a threat. But if that unfilled diamond now starts getting very close to us and it starts to come inside of about 850 feet, then a traffic advisory will be issued. And a traffic advisory is both that the filled diamond will become a yellow dot instead, showing us clearly where it is, and also it's going to give an oral warning in the cockpit. The cockpit is going to say traffic, traffic. And it can do so also if it feels that a proximate aircraft or a non-proximate aircraft is closing in. Let's say that someone is climbing at a very high climb rate below us. That might also trigger a traffic advisory. So what do we do then? What do we do if we get a traffic advisory? Well, not a lot, to be perfectly honest. The pilot flying will be looking out to see if we can spot the traffic. Okay, he or she will also be getting ready, holding the yoke, holding the thrust levers to respond if the traffic advisory turns into a resolution advisory. Pilot monitoring will do the same thing, try to see where the threat potentially is, and also maybe call air traffic control. If they see that there is an aircraft at the same altitude, well then call and ask what's going on. Okay. A traffic advisory will happen at about 40 to 45 seconds from a calculated collision. So it's still quite a lot of time. It's almost a minute until, you would crash into each other. Now, if nothing is happening, and it's also very important that we don't do anything rash at that point, because the transponders in the threat aircraft and in your aircraft are now starting to communicate, and they're starting to coordinate a potential resolution advisory. If that aircraft becomes within 25 seconds away from us, 25 seconds prior to a calculated collision, then a resolution advisory will come. And the resolution advisory will come in the form of both an oral warning that will tell us exactly what to do. Climb, climb, descend, something like that. And it will also show a red trapezoid on our primary flight display. And that trapezoid, the objective of that is for us to see where to pitch to come outside of the area. And that outside of the area is projected to be a safe area. Okay? In the opposite aircraft, the threat aircraft, they will also get a resolution advisory, but an opposite one. So if we get climb, climb, they will get descend, descend. And in that way, we will kind of avoid each other and maximize the distance between each other. Okay? Now, the pilot flying will immediately respond to the resolution advisory by disconnecting the autopilot, disconnecting the auto throttle, pitch for whatever the resolution advisory is saying, keeping itself outside of the trapezoid. But not a crazy amount outside of the trapezoid, just outside. Because remember, you don't want to trigger another one below you if you can avoid it. So you just keep just outside, not to get a crazy high climb or descent rate. Okay? Pilot monitoring verified that the pilot flying is doing what he or she is supposed to do. And if that's okay, and everything looks like it's following the procedure, then you can go in as pilot monitoring, call ATC and just call TCAS RA. So doubling control, Mentour 360, TCAS RA. Nothing more than that. You don't have to tell what you're doing, if you're climbing, descending, nothing. Because that sends a message to air traffic control that, okay, this has happened, nothing we can do at this point, and they should just say Roger or copy, something like that. Because air traffic control have tried to avoid this happening. They have tried to do so by assigning different flight levels and stuff, but something has caused this to happen anyway. So at this point, air traffic control is out of the loop. If they go in and they give an instruction, you as a pilot have to disregard it. You have to follow what the TCAS system is telling you to do. This is crucial, okay? There was a disaster that happened over the German town of Uberlingen back in 2002. I have a documentary in the Mentour Aviation app that you can check out, link here as well, where two aircraft, one DHL aircraft and one Russian aircraft came into, for different reasons, came onto the same flight level and on collision course. Now, the resolution advisory, as in the TCAS system, worked perfectly. So the DHL pilots, they followed the resolution advisory as they had been trained, but air traffic control came in the middle and told the Russian aircraft to do a different thing. And instead of following the resolution advisory, those pilots followed ATC, and that ended up causing the mid-air collision where everyone on board perished. So I want to say this again. It is crucially important that you follow the TCAS warning. When the TCAS resolution advisory pumps off, you follow that one. Very important. Okay. Then, when TCAS has felt that the threat is over, that the other aircraft has passed, it will issue a clear of conflict message. And only then can pilot monitoring go in, talk to ATC, tell them Mentour 360, clear of conflict, climbing back to, descending back to, for example, flight level 350. If air traffic control goes in and tells them to do something during the resolution advisory, we only answer with unable, TCAS RA. That's it. Okay. Now, if you want to see how this is done, I have done an instructional collection inside of the Mentour Aviation app. So you just go to the app, which is free, by the way, to download. You go into the collection and you can get this collection, all right? The collection, the training collections that I've done, they do cost a little bit of money. This one I think cost €1 or a dollar, okay? And you can see in 360 how exactly we're doing this, who does what and when. So I highly recommend you, after having watched this video, to go into the Mentour Aviation app, just get that collection. Now, if you want to get all of the collections inside of the app, that's available. It's about 2 hours of instruction. That's available for about $10, I think. But the app in itself and the forum that's inside there for chatting, which is going to get much better within the next few months, it's completely for free. So you can get the app, you can check it out, and you can buy something if you want to support the work that I'm doing inside of the app. But that's it, guys. If you have more questions about TCAS and how it works or anything like that, then get inside of the app, tag @Mentour. That's going to send a message directly to me, or send in your question here in the description. Give me a like if you like the video. I want to send a huge thank you to the sponsor of this episode, which is Brilliant.org. Now, Brilliant.org is a fantastic organization when it comes to making physics and math fun and interactive. Okay? I personally really like their daily problems. So every day they find a problem, a kind of a nut to crack, and they send it out to their users. You can go in there, you can try to figure it out yourself, or you can interact with other users who are discussing ways to solve the problem. It's a great way if you have kind of a couple of minutes over, and you know, instead of checking Facebook on the subway or whatever, you can go in and do this, and you can feel like you've learned something that day. So 501st of you who uses this link here below, you get 20% off the annual fee of Brilliant, but once again, it's completely free to check it out. Now, having said that, another group that I really want to say thank you to is the members of my Patreon crew. So you guys know who you are. I really appreciate all of the support that you're giving to the channel, to the app, to everything that you do. So if you want to join, check out the link or the link here in the description. Have an absolutely fantastic day, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.